Assalamu alaikum, wonderful viewers. Welcome to the Political Hour Show here on Eco TV International, the People's Choice, where we invite politicians, youths, and women to discuss about the pressing issues in this country. And today, here with me is the man himself, Kaxx, who is trying to see a better future for the Gambia. And he will introduce himself shortly. But before that, you can kindly follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Sponsors are also invited. You can call on the various numbers on the screen to sponsor this program. I am your host, Rohia Tuture. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Walaikum salam. I am Sanneh or Kaxx. Thank you for inviting me. It's a honor.
Okay, thank you very much, Kaxx, for being here today. And can you please tell us more about yourself?
My name is Sanneh, but commonly known as Kaxx. That's my famous name. A young person who is so passionate about his country, who believes that a country cannot develop without the voice of the young people. And I take it upon myself to be part of political party, to be also part of civil societies that are calling for transparency and accountability. My journey started as a young person, growing up as a normal family, born in Brikama, Nyambai, then moved to Jamisa Primary School, where I did my primary school from grade 1 to 6, then to Dankunkus Upper Basic School, from there to Amite, then Kauru. And I came back, then GTTI, then I started working, in the private sector. Then developed a passion about politics, knowing that politicians decide everything in this country. They decide the type of educational system that we should have, the type of health system that we should have, the type of economy that we should have. Then it is everyone's business to be part of political party. Then I identify myself with People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, PDOIS, as a member, a bona fide member of the party, but also somebody who is passionate. Not that I don't believe that people should just be aligned with a political party, but be silent about your country. And I developed the passion to also be part of the civil societies that are in this country. I have been part of teams that have organized protests in this country demanding for accountability and transparency, ranging from Occupy Westfield, Team Gomsa Boba's protests, and so many protests that have happened in this country, to make sure that accountability and transparency become the order of the day. And moving forward, the image of GALA too, then I become a member after our on the 8th of May protest. Then we decided to move away from a movement to a movement, and we started to build what we call an interim committee. And unfortunately, I was actually selected to be their media and communication personnel. So this is who I am, and we are trying our best, to make sure that we hold government accountable.
Well, okay, Mr. Sanneh, known as Kaxx, what really inspired the formation of GALA, and what are your core objectives?
Yeah, thank you very much. GALA emerged due to a necessity or a demand of the citizens to know where their resources are going, because at the end of the day, the law is very clear. Any revenue or resources that is generated or collected on behalf of the Gambia should go to the consolidated revenue of the state. But unfortunately, GALA emerged after Jammeh left. There were various of commissions that were established to look at the financial discipline of the former president, and also some of the assets that he acquired that are not legally, or they are assets of the state, to make sure that they look into all these issues, and that's give birth to the Jammeh Commission that emerged. So the Jammeh Commission emerged, and they were tasked with the responsibility to look at the financial dealing of the former president and some of his close associates. And this were done, and a report was prepared at the end of their inquiry and tendered to the president, and the president adopted those reports, as they recommended by the commission, the Jammeh Commission. So they give us information that this is what they have unveiled from the Commission of Inquiry. These were the revelation that came out, and these are the recommendations, and these were some of the things that they have find out during their investigation. But months later, we found one of our journalists by the name Mustafa Kedabo made an investigation into the issue of the sale of the Jammeh's asset, and find out that the information that we gathered and that the government gave us and the right information are totally different.
They were quite different.
They were quite different in terms
they
of,
deceived you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So based on the report, because they didn't tell us that there were somehow the amounts they sell those assets. Even when the National Assembly requested for the names of the buyers of the Jammeh asset, the Minister of Justice, Dauda Jallow, declined not to give, and he relied on the protection of the right of privacy of an individual who actually buys. So they refused to disclose the names of those people. But Mustafa's story revealed that how these assets were sold, where some commissioners were even, or members of the commissions were part of the people who were actually buying this. So out of this, and when GALA saw this, young young people. By then it was not GALA. But concerned Gambians, when they saw this report and they called for accountability and they sat down, mobilized themselves, they sit in one corner and discuss how can we follow up this so that we know what actually transpired in the Jana Commission. So we had our first meeting. We discussed among ourselves as concerned Gambians that we need to oppose the government to tell us a clear information in regards to what happens during the Jana Commission and also the sale and the dispose of the assets of former Yaya Jammeh. Even though I disagree, these are assets of the state. Once they are freed, they become the properties of the Gambia, but that's the famous name that people know, so we will rely on those things. So when we discussed our first meeting, we said there is need for us to go to the street and demand government for transparency and accountability, and we said, what will be our demands? We discussed, we said, okay, let's demand for the full list of all the buyers and full list of all the assets that were recovered. Also ask the president to address the nation on his next step, what he will do after the revelation of the newspaper's article. We also ask the government to establish a special committee or a special investigating body that will investigate the whole process of Jana Commission. So the citizens decided, when are we going to write a permit and request it and go to the streets? So we wrote a permit. By then, we are still not GALA. So when we discussed, we said, okay, how do we name this? Then we came with Gambian Agents Looted Assets. So that's why the GALA came in. So we agreed and we start mobilizing ourselves, we write a permit for the Inspector General of Police to give us a permit so that we can go to the street. We submitted to the Office of the Inspector General of Police, and a few days they called us, they said our permit is actually denied. So we said that we believe that the Inspector General of Police doesn't have any right to deny us. All what we have to do is to notify him, to tell him that we are going out on this particular day, provide us security since you are responsible for the internal security. And this is why we said that with or without permit, we are going out, and we held a press conference to inform the public that we are denying a permit, but we will go out in the street and make sure that what Section 25 of the Constitution guarantees us, we do that. So that's how we came up on the 8th of May, and we all got arrested, and we were taken to various police stations across the country. Then we see the population emerge demanding for our release. Unfortunately, after 3 days, we were actually released, and we were coming to the police station because they wanted to have discussion with us. But when they requested for us to go on a police report like somebody who is under bail, we deliberately refused not to do that. So we continue to mobilize ourselves to make GALA as an institution, moving from a moment to a movement. Then we start the registration process. We go to the AG chambers. We were denied. We give all the documents, all our constitution, all our members their name. But the AG chamber said that, based on Section 16 of the Companies Act, they cannot give or they cannot register our name GALA because we have a title called the Gambia, and those names are reserved for institutions that are promoting the image of this country. So Gambia Republic sovereigns are names or that they cannot use, and also...
So they are implying that you guys are not promoting the image of the country?
Absolutely. Maybe for them they think, but anybody who is calling for accountability and transparency is actually promoting the image of the country. So he rely on those provisions and deny us permit, and we deny us to register. So we went back, we discussed, and still now we are discussing what way are we going to take. Are we going to go to the court and force the registrar of companies to register us, or are we going to maintain without being registered, just to maintain as a press or group? So we are looking at those avenues. So from there, the issue of the oil scandal report came out from the National Assembly. So when that issue came regarding about the Russian oil that came to this country, deposited in this country, the whole transaction is so dubious to the extent that people disregard laws in this country, people disregard regulation in terms of how do you do that, because every sector there is a rules and regulation that governs. You have act that you should actually, act of parliament that should guide you in the process. So all these things were done here, and we feel like a few individuals amass those wealth when those people could have paid tax that will go to the consolidated revenue of the state, and it will come back to us in the form of a service, but few individual pockets. We said, come on. After this report, we cannot sit down again, even though we are on the process of trying to register GALA and also decentralize GALA to hold the regions.
So now, are you legally registered?
Up to now, we are not. They deny us, and we didn't move our way to next step, because we are talking with our lawyers to see what they will advise us, or whether we are going to the court through a mandamus application to make sure that we compel the government, they compel the government to register us, or we will still just been unregistered and just continue with our activity since we have done what is required of us. Is the state who refused to give us that legal status. We will continue to do what we, because we recognize ourselves as Gambians, and we have the right to demand, whether we are registered or not, we have the right to assemble under Section 25 of the Constitution. So we are advising ourselves, but there is no decision yet.
Okay, and about the first protest, during your arrest and 3 days stay at the prison, was there anything unlawfully done to you and your members?
Yeah, absolutely. That happens, and we are even looking at that avenue either to drag the government to court for number one, for unlawful arrest, because we were never processed. At the time they were actually arresting us, none of us were protesting. We were all sitting at public space, and the law is very clear that citizens have the right to freedom of movement.
Exactly.
And that we can move at anywhere in the four corners of this country
Freedom
and
of
sit down
movement.
them and discuss whatever we want to discuss. So 7 of us or 8 of us, we are sitting at the Makati Square waiting for some of our members to come. That's where we got arrested. So at the first place, we never moved to have a possession where you will say that, okay, you have moved without permit. So we feel like our right has been violated. That is guaranteed on the Constitution. Freedom of assembly, freedom of association, and freedom of movement has been actually been violated. We also move away from there. When we got arrested, we were uncommunicado for 2 days. Nobody talks to us, and even somebody kills somebody, the Constitution guarantees you that you must have access to your family, you must have access to your lawyers, and you must have access to visitors. But we were denied this thing. They said we are uncommunicado. So for 2 days, we didn't talk to anybody. None of us, they just open your door, you go and use the restroom and come back. Apart from that, I will be in my cell. I hear people asking, I am here to visit Kaxx. They will tell me he's not here. So they have definitely violated my fundamental right, where I have access to lawyer, I have access to family, so that they will provide my needs for me.
So have you taken any step regarding to it?
Yeah, we are discussing among ourselves. We already consult our lawyers. We sat down. We have our first meeting to tell them some of the things that actually happened. We want to look into that. Even the Public Order Act that says that people cannot, because the police are relying on those things to say that the Public Order Act said that the IGP must give you. We feel like there is no law that should contradict the Constitution. When the Constitution gives you a power and say that you have the right to assemble, you cannot create another law that will take that right away from you, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the country. So we want to even look at that Public Order Act. So we want to combine everything with our fundamental right that we have violated to sue the government to court. So we are discussing because the High Court is going for vacation and they are coming back in October. So but before October, we will gather whatever we want to gather. If it means for us to go to court, we will definitely do so.
Okay, now regarding the second protest, we've seen that you and your members were at the forefront of the youths and women, and this protest not only includes young youths. We've seen that old people are there, these old women, and even our fathers were also present there. How do you feel about that, seeing old people present there, not only youths fighting for the future of the Gambia?
Yeah, it means that Gambians people are understanding that they own the country, and they should dictate how their country should be governed. Because at the end of the day, anybody who is at that position are our employees. We pay them tax and other things. And they understand what GALA is fighting for. That's why last time I told people, I said, people are getting our message. That shows you that the young people, old people, irrespective of our gender, irrespective of our age, people are getting the message. They know that we are on a right course. What we are fighting is our collective interest. And that's why when I see the people, I was so happy that, Gambians people are actually getting the message. Just few days mobilization, you could see that thousands of young people, both from different sectors of the society, all women. When I see some of the pictures, all women that can be my mothers, were on the street.
And one of the government officials said that before the protest, said that not even 50 people will appear.
Yeah, but we prove them wrong that to say that the Gambian people want a government that is transparent and accountability and corruption free. So we are so grateful that Gambian people are getting the message and they are coming out and the momentum is building, and we will continue this momentum so that at least let government have a pressure group that will put them on check, because we have institutions that should do that. Hadn't been those institutions are doing their work, GALA will not have emerged. We have the national audit here. That's their role, to make sure that they look at all mismanagement of public fund. Where there is fraud, they make sure that they show it out to the people, and the Inspector General of Police should take that information and do a criminal investigation, and if somebody is found wanting, should be prosecuted. So the National Assembly also has an oversight body over the government institution to look at any activity that the government engage in, and they feel like there is found play and the citizens raise, they should form government committee that will look into that matter or call an investigation or even compel the ministers to come and answer questions. So all these things are not happening. So the institutions are failing. That's why the citizens are taking their responsibility. And I think that GALA, imagine now the Gambian are seeing what direction GALA is going and they support GALA. And I'm sure that by moving forward, we will have more support from the public. And we are so proud of every person who comes out that they know that your name has been written in the history book, that you didn't stay home silent when your country is heading in a wrong direction.
Okay. Ndum fana sa ngajele during protest nying kono kuja male finti dol ba fala ko who killed the cops al fonko e mburo fana ko ma da sertal fenjama impunity nin kata poverty la karola ikaje sa dola fonko bana bala bije ko ala mburo ala kip mburu $12 billahi da ngeen sohor gaje mburu da sera one of a member Gambian be comme yalla ko is about your age kay fana mburu afla national mburu da ka fula inata na ya arrest regarding a national mburu da ka fula say ite muna je woton dum boydo commenta ko comme la we should go back to agriculture
absolutely
say for ita believe tal ko ni mburu to agriculture ka na country ba improve la wala
absolutely ko yafo nyama ka be wala nyama molo nal fintita je kafo commande momoni la meyete dew meye sula a banko ka momoni wala so wala ne placards jamal je dol ba fala ko mburo dol ba fala ko who kills the cops because wala muitel la concerned because that's why ko citizens we have a divergent views in the country so better no ku kele to hani dino found we have separate beliefs so wala bije so but at the end of the day it's all boiled down ka antandi la ko banko le me anan ko kol me nyanta ka ko le bukake Ninata mburo la karola, people are talking about it. And Tonyalen, Senator Malasim Bondino, we cannot rely on importing everything that we need in this country. For instance, Senator, that factory coming for we start building that factory. I work with that factory from foundation to end the make of mburo that are in this country. But the flowers all me and go ferenyoka dada wole ka fa wheat akadada wole but all the product on ferenyoka dada men akabona Russia or I born in France or I born in other parts of the country. But there I travel, I went to Nigeria. Nigeria for have a similar factory there. But you mean what they compelled that government institute that a factory you mean for wala nyindeko. Delfanal we want our farmers at least to have what we ela senosi nafa. Ngala no ko nyamboka dada no ferenyotile. So saying delbe farmers all be kodo dile la pour yeta kene balta e nyambo doku bar mbatel company ni ya doku rek bay fosal ba sanal so that ali ada fraud so alka wido men nanal be 50% le nata na of wheat ale 50% nyambo sanna fama sol bul so jani ngo combine ngoka bay ko na fama sol fana ko do betar le ko sidi mon la karam ku keno ani create employment so nem product ko ka sote la banko ka rek ala but say ni ka bondina outside ka kulungo le jo men ka nanna e ka kulungo le wulende men ka nanna the company le jola me yalan ka bana dina so automatically it reflects on the prices so government now has to look into inward ka yandandila ko this is happening in other parts of the country bibi ni nyambuti ole guarantee soto ko ndela nyambo ni nga do ko rek abe sannal ni melontel be bira nyambi do ko because na lon ko already market is there for us so the moment you do ko ka minana so ni wakere ba yak sign the product is coming here so compared to the price of the wheat and compared to the price of cassava e ba yela ko ni nyil compare ni be cheap la so now that will reflect on the price of the because nyaje be complain kay fana mburtil ko ba la fala yeneje ko the product ka membo nanje ka sanna wenata siar ibodana wota ko de taxol men jo anen kela bagasol nanda masimol men bije employer sol men bije yo be calculate ya jibe den they add that to their price but wala na fana man sakunda fana ka antane man sakunda la do ko manke fen fente wala pour kala banko dingol mutake mako so wala na subvention is important wato dolla nin sector sol melan ko a basic needs of the country government ka subvention o dundije ka antandi la ko okay atel ka nyide ga bantel sa la kulu mom nyen kanana alka tax men jo poro mebe mbo talalaje esaje faral simbulo tarano na banko dingole so ikaje ko wol sifal because the interest because mburo men ka do ngam banko kanja ana nyo mano buka do mo jang mburo men ka do so wala ko so I mem fo wala bije fo mol simur back to senodo ni muta senodo de ku jamal bije hani mano you look at almost 3 billion dollars in cola spend in terms of importing the rice that is coming in this country but from Jawara to Jamme kana fo barola time wala ko di jolle pomta into Jakali Pachar for us to be food sufficient kamano do kum faye so baye ko niyo invest ko do men be dun tanyum banko kana bukata ni corruption la bukata ni silo la melan ko amulun jaw yara o kera non Jakale at this material time tel ben fansum mano do kula niyo mano do ku now you are creating a chain of employment because sign melbita faro ko mel yalan ko be mano do kula je well already they guarantee ko e bol jolol mo do kula let so mel bobola to mel ba process la na bodo to mel ba katila ka samba do the process pour ay process ay ke boto kono o fana is another sector mel fana ba wafila to the market retailers o fana is another another person. So you are creating a chain of employment. So by the funding you melanko ka jina school to you already they will have an already market melanko abidjan. But up to now $3 billion on you can spend to import the rice now goes to the hands of the farmers. So this is how you develop. By the mol senobe parako sorola, by the la bank sorola. If an individual will be able to do that, because I see an individual melanko saying he wants to cultivate rice his own melanko Gambia beba consume land. Like if an individual can do that, what about a government? Melanko tell bacon and namojo world. So for government must have a policy to understand, because you must sit down and reflect on what type of country do I have, what is their basic needs, and you make a policy around that can make sure that you salivate those things. You have a short term, long term, medium term. But in this country, we don't even have a direction. People will tell you, we have seen so many visions here. From Yajame Vision 2020, Gambia will be a Dubai, Singapore is never achieved. Baronatan and Cairo, I don't know, Vision Cairo, I don't know something. They came with a blueprint, they said that Vision 20. So nothing is achievable, because they don't deal with the realities. So if you assumption one, you didn't do the study, because any doctor on Abe Jara Force, he diagnosed you. But until this country has never been diagnosed since independence. And so, wala na kamenke fire brigade service le. Ni amo problem solve. Na mera problem. So you didn't holistically study the country to understand what are the needs of this country. And unless we move away from that direction, these things will be and policies will be done. But we refuse to accept that what policies will they put into implementing. Ni na rajang. Tell barana ninga kaito safeje safko. This is the best document. Go to the NASA. How many acts? Maybe ask for. You have every sector in this country have its own act. It shows you how dokulal nyantaka manyadi. Nyantaka nafulo bondi nafulo nyantaka dunya nyantaka finti nyadi. But kodo kana laban individual pocket soul because we didn't respect the lay down laws medalanko banko ni. Nyantaka num banko mal luwa so takada luwanta na kamundal ko ninda kamal be gulo kono rek. Ni sembo mo ramenti yesapaka mendiata me yakeje. Wala na hansa ben corruption ni nyum kol fo kamba. Ni move away ta ngayanda ndiko banko e luwa le so tay sarto le so. Dum banko fana direction also do nyanta ko direction understand rek. Ambe banko so me alanko amanjari kala finti be do kono.
Okay, so galanding citizenal banning corruption of fight content. The man safon fintana ko corruption is as old as mankind. Say kai. It if you come imply.
No, actually, Kamundako, you just justifying it. Amanda, before even for audit report, is a government institution paid by the taxpayers. Ikata wotole, ikata deputy board every session, Nitara Parliament, by a national audit officer. Doyata Nyaonya, the Bamuela $400 million will allocated for their budget, or $500 million will allocated for their running of that institution. Ikafoko audit opinion, audit reports are just mere opinion. Yala niyo for now you are encouraging that kind of need because these are an institution. They go to a government institution. They look at your bank statement. They look at your financial state. They look at your management letter. They look at your asset sold in the company. They do their auditing. Near auditing ke foi pareda ya antandi la kontele nyine fanje ko nyin nyin amantano nyi risito men jo maje ye kodo jo nyun la ba risito man nan ka antandi la ko nyin kodo jo da kodo tada bank bar ngaje ko amanki je o la tada bank le ale cheko mutali ya cancel bar ngaje tada ATM or ya withdraw je all findida ode ko is just an opinion. So those are facts. So Nico, you are encouraging people to continue. So President, we know that corruption is all as a mankind. But now what is the solution? There are other parts of the world, no matter how old it is. But now corruption is because you are corruption, that's the end of you. So President should make sure that he put those laws. But Nico for is normal. You encourage people to do that. So that was very unfortunate from a leader. He claims that he's fighting corruption. Because last time I had a speech when GALA put a press over they will look at this and corruption will not be encouraged. No is found one thing, they will make sure that the law take its course. So but no corruption is all as mankind. After that statement, he's even contradicting himself. So it is important for you to understand banko te tala no. A model ka fanyim banko ka manke kwela watu wala sita, but because of corruption is killing them. Because corruption can move every sector of the society ake fale. Bibi ninte tata leptano tan sula ta boro la masoro. Leptano nyanta ka provide and I'm paying that tax for so that kunin sasada. Zitano leptano to yenjara. Ntara je masoro mbulo manko ben. Ntitano ngota maybe China pour ngata fanjara jo ontitano Senegal wala boro do bije is too expensive wala nyanta ka diagnosement is too expensive. I'll go back to the home ngasije ngasaya bato. So neman courant dun jara be fala. So automatically no father because of right medication le man provided. And look at now you go to the hospital. I do a survey. I went down one day and see the left hand. Ngaji how many people like abona left hand take adun pharmacy ko to kada boro sanji. It's huge amount of people melanko. Why is not government providing that ko? Boro jol leka na banko kasula jol at this material time. What are the key diseases? You must understand that but it I borrow do na kata jana for expire for use because you didn't do a holistic study to understand ko until the health so kuran jol leka milka repeat who are the highest kuran wal menkana ye borrow prepare to those effects. Janibe borrows and randomly and other things also. So wala kake issue in this country and unless we look at all those things wala problem in this country. And for more you understand ka nandila ko banko la na follow mansala do ko manke fen to promote the general welfare of its citizens. Ni mo ken or you have failed as a leader. That's the number one pay. Main at and fen just to promote the general welfare. So let a fen la banko kan should be provided. Wala neka na mojo. Ne wonte mbebe na kodo mutalambulo ko mota na mojo. Ni sula da mene fon ita bidi ko do yasa bare ko ngadi mo kilina me alan ko wala mansati ngadu ni banko la keso ko bare atele sembo wara bata asamuta saji be banko la ni sol momenta ayake be ni ngaw kafu nyoma be kala ko di jamale ban te kilin yata ndete silo darano la manoka de nin ko kilin na mo muta majo me be nte silo da ate silo sila no pour ngam da te leptano lo bare ko nimbe ya kafu nyoka mansata ta alon ko jolle bitano leptano to jolle bitano agricultural sector jolle be lano la economic to jolle bitano pour funding ke wala karawol all these things are issues me alon ko be happen in this country. Look at even the GTTI. It's a technical school. And what is the essence of a technical school? Just look at our independent stadium, our National Assembly. Melbealo is a government construction company from China. So it is student currently technical school. Why don't you gather those young people together? Currently maybe if they need to go outside to have more experience, let them go outside. You don't need to bring an expert from other parts. The Gambian people will let to do that. You look at our school system, furniture baby, roofing system. You have a GTI that's technical school and welding lal bijel plumber lal bijel
like na education system is very bad comme like kabin karang school oto ni tare job market to o buga tare so o kana tin ni government school ta fenna comme do ku bala country kan kana finti outside leta experts ni na woto yanana banko ka sa ita la miraro to muna nyanta kala government nyanta min kala wala mul nyanta min kala pour ka jan education system moy change.
Yeah, well, the issue is, education is, the purpose of an education is to make sure that education will be able to solve them. In terms of the agricultural sector, you must have people who are agriculture as an expert. Agriculture, you go to the university, take those expertise, and then let them bring a blueprint for you. So, agriculture. Once you get already, the agricultural sector is already prepared for them to consume them. So, if you go to the technical side, you have the technical institution. So, you all currently but until we are dealing with up to now, look at even our school system. You have 13 subjects, one person.
Exactly.
So, other subjects, so you don't even need them. There's no specialist area teacher. So it's social.
Sometimes it can be more coming like intelligent background.
One thing. Asiaba 13 subject, 14 subject, one individual.
Yeah, teacher killing. One subject. But I expect because today no. What small killing? Book jail.
And exam you make sure that so that's why Europe
no man is stupid.
No man is stupid, but they specialize everybody. Near GB for them, your nursing school, they see you. Who is this person? So the moment that they identify the person is good at the sector, now they concentrate on that sector. So people understand has much as best. But the colonial system exactly. Up to now, our education system has never been diagnosed to understand whether it reflects the realities of the Gambia. Up to be another monkey. So that's why Molka Jina School of Malamfang, in a minute, because it's too much on your head. Exactly. So you can't decide what now you will specialize in Ukata Kebayana. That's how you need to pay back your parents because Mommy currently from grade 1, grade 2, grade for grade 12 ibama be say bama ke ba defana ka fa janna be dan kula mansoma at least mbadum fana yala juloju bay te ko start wado men to specialize on one area wala tasha ni ta university ko say be political science lekala wala I will develop be fonko lekala fana wala be political science lekala so that's the time okata ite be 40 years and you should now pay. So now you are eka hamo sort of go back your family market. So now eka job na that even it's not your area.
Exactly.
And the job market yajibe how it's not consuming us. Look at the private sector and the industrial sector, and you look at other sectors. How many employment in other government it's only now 15% of the population. That's where the service sector is employed. But now the vast majority of the employment, the percentage is at the industrial sector. But how much is government investing in the industrial sector? So this is the issue. Ibaje la kontela tabulo ni na siraw nata ko the student men ko welding karang at GTTI because school ni sula ta siraw la we give it to a GTTI. So student men boda man sakunda be menegala buy them welding machines, buy them workshop ye loan dealer. ko start and establish your own nin government contract ko so yana yadi la so
yeah.
ite bagasol men say ba jolale in term of near do ko so ye 10% jo ni ajo fosai ya bank now the workshop becomes them so government any contract so they come back to those people so ba ko you are now creating a chain of employment o fana be mo jolle employer into that workshop because he knows that ko wala beke but ni rasula dole you go to MDI or you go to GTTI you make sure that those things are provided so nyene ko ti mealan ko wala be batandi kan na banko kanja so na education system has to be looked at so that it reflect on the realities of our country.
Okay, ni ajibe fana comme like ning unemployment rate siata banko kan wol kat na waka mo jama frustrating di ni yalo ngi kata turu ning irregular migration wala sa woto fana isa mun advice soto no youth so le min yale ka embark on this and amanke youth so doronte dol jele na sister sol mbamal ni dingoli ke bulo mute kata ni silo kon mi yalo ko amang fenka betiala health and ni itol fonja in general fanga mem betiel say mon advice to mo
absolutely ni moje be risk joni tala men ka mun ko bagwe because sayani mbal wala be ni bita kanje kalon ka koleata mare bulle wala dudala so it's all boiled down kayandandila ko ni mota rafa man jikko so tala bankola aka jarale sayabi je wo balwo be je bante be findila because we aka kole abakele like ntela age be nyame I know how my parents struggle for being a foot at this stage too. They sacrifice everything for me to make sure that fonga foot at this stage. So kamala and definitely can make sure that I pay back to my people, my parents all. So wala ka hamodu ndi funding kyola like nte ba ma enkarandi from grade 1 sava kabe wuluda yente de fonga men ngada fonga grade 12 banko de ngam munum baya ngam dafta dasa mo fana ka fa nan so dasa you know funding go me hamo so da buka e kamalu le pour ka so it's even encourage ka yanda ko ngata nga sunya wala ngata bagu la fa wala afisa that's why because of that lack of employment wala ka criminal or found if you want to combat criminalism in this country hadama dum la basic needs so nyanta ka provide but for the gona da fama sort of ferem ibadara you cannot go back to your parents so inya e fen just sikano rek america tal he do that that's why more be risk people are risking to go to people's compound you know to make sure that ko ye force kala bagaso possible so nyaro jibe membe ke kanja so for ma sakunda nyanta ka onda what is the push factor that is pushing people because wala nan ko is all boiled down to diagnosing the country ndeka jala mo leta ni bagwele ya fanga mo fulal le bon nga kulungo break silo ka nga funding kol je bi da kam bagwele ngi arrest immigration le londi press conference but nobody is looking at what is the push factor mena ko push to take this dangerous journey you must diagnose that to understand what is the push factor once you understand the push factor now you will make a policy that will address that push factor but unless you mo kerek mol bital hani soma there are people who are preparing to leave this country, even though because the push factor is more powerful than the fear factor. And if you have that, because if the push factor is more powerful than the fear factor, fear and unless we look at that push factor, every day because because you see a single mother soul banko la responsibility la world to take care of them, social service. That's why we have the social welfare. That's why we have social departments, that you provide social needs for the people. That's why we have all various councils. If we go to other parts of the social service, but what are the government doing to make sure that social needs are available? So unless we look at all these things, we must have at a town hall meeting, and let's rely on everybody's intelligence, because a collective intelligence, but Niko a Kaxx politician is not part of us. I don't need his expertise. Call them. Politics is just a period of time. But at the end of the day, we have a country to build. Yeah. Invite us. Tell us that this country is at this stage. Last time, we are all Gambians. What do you think? What is your expertise in this area? Let's sit down. Go to the university. Because in other parts, go to Dakar. Near problem also, and they want to solve it. They go to the university because it's the expert body of the state. Until we don't even rely on our university to give us expertise. When it's come for conflict issue, there are people who are just relying on university to study what we call conflict resolution. How do you deal with conflicts? How do you deal with irregular migrations and other things? So new issues, go to them. We want you to develop a document for us, in terms of how do we deal with conflict. We want you to develop a document in terms of good governance. We want to take that knowledge, develop your policies around those things. Or we create an expert bank, experts of Gambians. Those are the ones that will advise government. When it's look at how many Gambians are in the diaspora. They are experts. They are working in World Bank. They are working with international organizations. Bring those people together. if they are agriculturalists, yeah, for you are expert in agriculture,
Yeah,
develop
strong.
something, economic, develop something. So any ministry, you take that expert knowledge, you implement those things because they will advise the government based on the knowledge that they have in this area. So we will definitely move. And
GALA future plans la. What are the next steps? Albamintala ning government yalla demands igno.
Yeah, well, I need a time frame on the 90 days, that's almost 3 months. They must act on all the recommendations. Melanco has been investigated and reports were prepared to that effect. Menka munta ko the COVID-19 phone te mira corona botaja wato men national assembly investigation ya antandila ko kodo dunta modo la jifol ko menan kan silo mantanyo le bagaso dol sang ye sambela bungol le fon ko ka fe flash scream for the patients all
for your consequence face the wala
e man fem face wala ngala wala fem manki je recommendation ayna kankan ba be afenke kanje government didn't do anything so until le wala fe ko recommendation from the National Assembly has an oversight body me alan kontel bele be siro député be ngoto because constituency loi ni nafako bari mbeti dano nga si député bon kono ko woto alimo kilin tombo me alan ko le batel be representa so ni wodi amta wala we decision o diso ko munta ko banko bele o decision o ta so wobe wala nyama so we recommendation o sabe pre yo muta yo fay nyamo kono o kamunda kaman sula ban so nga 90 days le dila pour ya make sure that all those recommendations are fulfilled. The oil scandal, the ministerial mentor for the Maril Bondila Dokudla, Inspector General Investigation, okay, Kuliala, Samba Court, Ninkoti Mutako, Sorong, Sambang, Soronico, Yajo, Natangela Kodalta, Najo, Nakodomurina. So this is the issue. I'm from La Dilanga 90 days. 90 days now, Banta market. GALA is going back again, organizing themselves, and this time around, Yalanga regional coordinator will be commanded. Every region there is a representative of GALA there. Well, finally, they are going to create what we call a COP committee. Melan Final, they will boil it down from village, fight for the committee, fight for the ward level. So final they have WhatsApp groups so they create the mobilization. The next one on the Menkel, Gambia Baby Benna.
Countrywide.
Countrywide. And then see that they will have a recommendation of that. Inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much. Time you say a final word for no more outside key what.
Yeah, Kafu Gambia no lerek banko montelle tade. Nte d'accord no la ku kilingola. Fonse na divergent view soro bon ninga soro rek al nga banko tambinde ngana patiol fay nyamo kono jang ngana siol fay nyamo kono ngalon ko Gambia muntel leta den ndin dentala rek ambe Gambia soro me alon ko abembe kontana ni nata jibe bi kabe Gambia independent soro 1965 after be we are still crawling julo memben kan wala jan ni atalantel tema momo almost 34 million $34,000 wala julo bel we are $110 billion debt burden wala ben nanyum banko ko nga bare ka julo tay tele to yala bara bu ka reflect tele life kan abuka reflect nun julo be tala nyanta ka reflect ntela life kan das wala mna fala julo nsembo manyino bar mbado nga julo ta ni ngata mebe nsinyin ko keno mol ka julo hana la tegol ni aje baka an kilinte ko do kafuno mbado nga dum te ko gon ni ngo na tego mudan sib na bungo complete no fana sitra jokan do man doma wala mbanko la bar ye julo ta julo bu ka reflect 110 billion ya mebe bola jain tujam $56 billion ya wala tuja barola 8 years so from 56 to 110 billion so ya jamela 8 years 25 years so from barola 8 years were tripled in terms of julo mentara waro julo nying ale in terms of development of our country. University Jamila time Gambia College Bukajo, but San Gambia College where you pay $2 fee. So at least ni bol taka isa fono ko maybe Gambia College tinol melanko because mo melanko abela dinol karandela soma. Obe London nyen ngampur soma sila dinol kara waka kodojo. Nous sommes wala betela banko dingol karandela. So these are issues melanko for banko dingol salo. So alanga kafunyo kan ngalo ne konte keno la kilin bo nana dak banko la karo because kamen gala findi tanga molje internet dol mel ba foka e pale be label la but gala be menefo mo men ko corruption e bam banko kan jumal si balan no wala la banko ka but because of politicians will kaso ke use people will ke use ka fa altali counter but nyanta kalon ko banko montel leta dum dun ka futa nyoma rembe banko soto melan ko be si kontalan dingol be banko tala melan ko sa fo kono am fa mañole do ko ke ba mañole do ko ko to ñole do ko but nim mo kere will fail in our responsibility as citizens and as every citizen to promote the general welfare of your country. Allah barakabah.
Thank you very much, Kaxx, for joining us today. It's a pleasure having you here. And I hope you will have a next episode because Jamala Nyanta Fola.
Inshallah.
Well, this is how we've come to the end of the program. With me here, Rohiti Ture. This is the Political Hour Show that we do every week on Eco TV International, the People's Choice. For more updates, you can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Sponsors are also invited. Thank you very much. Till next week, inshallah.